Alrighty, everybody, welcome into this very, very special holiday edition of the Wide Eye Sports Podcast, filmed in front of a live studio audience for the first time ever. We have three of us here together in person. We are all home for the holidays, so we are all three together, minus one Dalton, who didn't manage to make it home because he hates us. But
I almost did.
that's not important.
I almost surprised you guys today.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
I couldn't.
So
I
the
couldn't make
only thing is we're a very low budget show, so we were only able to manage one microphone. So we will be passing the mic on this end of the show. We're not, super fancy yet, but we'll get there. With that, every week on the show, we start the show with our winners from the previous week, our biggest losers from the previous week, a pick'em for the next week, and a game of the week for the next week. So I am going to get us started with my game of the week. And this week, I'm going to go with Saints Bucks. This is something that neither of them really talked about. This is for the NFC South. Like, this is a big game for them. Like, both of these teams are still very viable to get into the playoffs. And they're now why I think the Bucks are going to win this game. I mean, do either of you agree? Yes or no?
I agree. I think the Bucks win. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. You got some?
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, Dalt?
Still a lot of teams not knocked out for this year's playoffs yet, which
Yeah.
I think
Well,
is crazy.
Bears are still in it, baby. Let's.
Raiders
I know the
are
Bucks on a
still in it.
4-game winning streak. It's just I find it very hard to bet against them at home right now, even though it is a divisional opponent. I got the Bucks here.
All right. Well, I'm going to now move on to my biggest winner. And my biggest winner are the Cleveland motherfucking Browns, bitches. I have sat here and pounded the table for the Cleveland Browns. And let me tell you, these punk motherfuckers have been talking shit on the Cleveland Browns. And I'm here to tell you, Joe Flacco he's not back. I'm not trying to say he's MVP. I'm trying to say he is the best quarterback they have had all season play-wise. They have a top 3 defense. Yes, Deshaun Watson is garbage. Yeah, he's thrown for 3 straight 300-yard games.
He has yet to have a game without an interception.
3 straight 300-yard games off the couch.
2 of those games have been multiple picks in the last 2 weeks. He's playing
Still
worse
winning
than
games.
he plays.
They're still winning games. They're 10-5.
Cleveland Browns and Joe Flacco were on my radar for like MVP of the week, but I can't go with Joe Flacco when he's throwing 2 interceptions.
Not Joe Flacco. I'm talking about the team. The team is my.
The team itself did good, but like I said, I can't give it to him because I still see the 2 interceptions, and I feel like going into the playoffs, that's going to be a huge effect for the team itself.
I think that the more he plays, he's gonna kind of get on with it, and he's coming off the couch, guys. He's 40 years old, coming off the couch, and he's just dropped 3 straight 300-yard games. The dude's got what it takes to play, and he's got the best defense in the league backing him.
Arguably, yes. The best.
I think it's crazy at how many teams are still in the playoffs with how much we're playing musical QBs here this year.
Seriously,
Bro, so many teams just like throwing out different QBs, from the start of the season. Shout out all the rookies. CJ Stroud not playing. Anthony Richardson not playing. Fuck, man. I mean, the list goes on.
Well, with that, they're my biggest winner. They're in the play for the 1 seed still. I think they have a maybe chance. I'm not saying a great chance, but a maybe chance of having the road to the Super Bowl in the AFC go through Cleveland. And nobody would have thought that was even a remote possibility with 5 weeks into the season, much less with 2 weeks left in the season.
What would have to happen for the Browns to
Baltimore would have to lose this week, and Miami would have to lose the following week, and Cleveland would have to win out.
Well, let's say all that happens. I'm saying what would have to happen for the Browns to move on from Deshaun Watson with everything they have invested in him. Let's say because he's out for the rest of the season. Let's say they make it to the Super Bowl.
That's tough.
Let's say they make it to the Super Bowl.
Joe Flacco goes on a Nick Foles type run.
Yeah. Let's say they get to the Super Bowl. What do you do then with Deshaun Watson next year when he comes back?
I think they would start him. You have too much invested in him. I don't think you can do anything else.
I think it's kind of like I think it's kind of like the Russell Wilson situation. People are wanting the Broncos to move on, but the salary cap's so locked up in them that I don't think you can move on from.
Well, Russell Wilson hasn't been playing bad at all, in my opinion. I think he's been playing just fine. Like in that scenario, like I think the Browns could put anybody at quarterback just about. I mean, you've seen it. They've been putting just about anyone at quarterback. They picked up Joe Flacco, so I mean, I think it's a good situation where the Browns should move on from Deshaun Watson, but I don't think, like what you were saying, I don't think that the Broncos should move on from Russell Wilson just yet.
All right,
Fair.
so that's my MVP of the week, the Browns. My biggest loser of the week, I'm going to keep this short, sweet, simple, and to the point. Our Minnesota Vikings are my biggest loser. We're pretty... Yeah, me and the Vikings fans that watch the show, obviously. So our Minnesota Vikings are pretty much all but out of the playoffs. The Seahawks would have to lose one of two pretty easy matchups for them. The Rams would have to do the same. The Vikings would have to beat the Packers and the Lions to stay in it. We just lost TJ Hawkinson for the season with a torn ACL and MCL. Jordan Addison's ankle's busted up. We're down to Nick Mullins or Jaron Hall. There's just not a whole lot going for us. We just lost DJ Wanham, who him and Daniil Hunter were the leading sack combo in the NFL this season.
Bro, if you would have kept Kirko, what would have happened with the Vikings? I mean,
if Kirko was playing, if Kirko was playing, we're 10-4 in play for the 1 seed.
That's crazy, dude. That's
maybe 9-5. I give us 9-5. 9-5. I think we lost to Detroit by 6 points, having 4 interceptions. I mean,
it is crazy how close.
With Kirk at the helm, we win that game.
It's crazy how close you're playing these games with like 10 interceptions a game.
Yeah, this is it. Just I'm saying I'm conceding. I'm waving my white flag. The Vikings ship has been sunk this season. While we are not officially dead, I have lost all hopes for any real chance of anything serious happening. I feel like a Bears fan, really. It's we're still in.
Oh God.
And we about have the same likelihood as they do of doing anything serious. With that, though, I'm going to move on to my last part of the segment. That would be my pick'em this week. And I am going to go with the Buffalo Bills. I think Buffalo pulls off a win this week. They're hot right now. I think they can win this game pretty handily. We have one of our live studio audience members over here who doesn't necessarily agree with me. He's not happy with me. So sorry about that up there in the stands. Apologize. But those would be my picks. So we'll recap. Browns. We have a live studio audience member that would like to have the mic. We're going to bring on somebody special. Come around here, Caleb. Come on down, Caleb. Come on down. He's a huge Patriots fan. Everybody give him a round of applause. Here you go, Caleb.
I would hope the Bills would beat the Patriots.
All right. With that, I'm going to hand off the mic to Spoon to have him go over his 4, and we'll go from there.
All right, so I'm going to keep mine kind of short and sweet. My game of the week, actually, no, I'll go to MVP first. So my MVP, actually going off of what you said, it is the Browns, but I'm also going to pick a specific player.
How are you picking the Browns? How are you guys picking the Browns after they've beat a destroyed freaking Texans team?
This Texas team is a playoffs team and a team that could still win their division. So I am very
They're not gonna win their division.
I'm very high on them. I almost picked the Texans as my biggest loser, but I didn't. But I'm going with the Browns, and I'm going with Amari Cooper. 265 yards and 2 touchdowns. That is what catapulted this Browns team to beat the Texans. I think him alone had such a good game, and he's by far, hands down, my MVP of the week. Now, my biggest loser of the week, and it could go as my biggest loser of the season, honestly. And it's not. It's going to the Colts-Falcons game. It's not the Colts themselves, but it's Jonathan Taylor. Rushing for 18, he had 18 carries for 43 yards, 2.4 yards a carry. He did get a touchdown, but it was a 1-yard gain. Obviously, you should score a touchdown from 1 yard. But it just, go ahead.
It's almost like your running back isn't important. It's more about the line.
And you're not wrong. That's why I'm That's why I'm pointing this out. If Jonathan Taylor takes those 18 carries and does what he did last year, he probably goes for over 100 yards. But it's just, it's a terrible.
The Falcons do also have the best run defense in the NFL, so that's something to be said.
It is something to be said. But I mean, the two playoff teams, possibly playoff teams. The Falcons are still alive. They're still there, but breaking news. The Texans had need for a safety depth. Who'd they sign?
They haven't signed anybody yet, but they sent Jimmy Ward to the IR.
Oh, okay. So Phil, you can do it.
So therefore, the Texans have placed safety Jimmy Ward on the IR, ending his season immediately. So that will be something to keep an eye out for. But I'm gonna let Spoon continue.
All right, so that was my biggest loser of the week. I'm gonna hurry up and shoot to my game of the week. And honestly, I'm surprised that Brenner pulled that Bucs Saints game out because I'm looking at this and I only see two games that are actually like good games that I will want to watch. And I'm gonna go with, I think I'm stealing Riley's here. I'm going with Ravens Dolphins. The reason why this is such a good game is because the Ravens did just beat the number one seed in the NFC in San Francisco. Now they have the chance to beat the number 2 seed behind them in the AFC. And I just think that if they win this game, it just shows how dominant the Ravens are this year and how much of a playoff push that they are probably going to make coming forward. Now moving on to my pick'ems, I'm going to go Seahawks. I haven't picked them yet, and they play the Steelers, and they play in Seattle. Yep. I think that even though I know the Steelers had a great game last week, putting in a new quarterback, Drew Lock. Well, no, I'm talking about the Steelers. Putting in Mason Rudolph, getting rid of Kenny Pickett. Great decision, by the way. Kenny Pickett's been playing like ass all year. But even with having a new quarterback at the leading the Steelers, I still think that the Seahawks win this game in Seattle. Big playoff game. I mean, if they win this game, they could possibly eliminate the Steelers from playoff berth. I don't see Pittsburgh going into Seattle and winning this game. So that's my pick 'em. Riley, ready for yours?
Yep. Hand the mic off.
Yeah. So my MVP for the week was the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. Baltimore held on to the 1 seed, and Lamar he can pretty well coast the rest of the season and walk away with the MVP. They are going up against Miami next week. They need to win that game, but this did a lot for the Baltimore and Lamar's MVP race hopes. And then my biggest loser is the Dallas Cowboys. 2 straight losses. I believe it was 2 or 3 weeks ago I said the Cowboys are not playing for a playoff spot anymore. They're playing for the 1 seed. And I think at this point, the 1 seed it's not looking like they're going to get it. The Niners and Eagles have 2 relatively easy games to finish the season. I don't see them losing out. The Cowboys have the Lions at home next week, which would, I believe, put them at the same record. But I don't think Dallas would be able to move anywhere because the Lions still have the NFC North. So I don't think the Cowboys would move any higher unless the Eagles lost. And then game of the week, I'm going Dolphins-Ravens. I've been saying this since week 3 that the AFC East was going to come down to week 18, Bills at Miami. And all I've been getting is shit for it. And now it's starting to look like it.
I'm just saying, he has admitted like 4 times throughout the season that the Bills ship has been sunk and that the Bills are out of it. And every time they win a game, he's like, they're back in. It's going to happen. I just wanted to clarify that.
And this is one of those times. It's going to happen. They're back in it. But for my pick'em, I'm going to take the Colts over the Raiders. The Raiders quarterback, O'Connell, what's his first name? Aiden O'Connell. He went 3 quarters of that last game without completing a pass. I don't think that the Raiders defense gets 2 touchdowns off of turnovers against the Colts. And for those reasons, I'm taking the Colts.
All righty, Dalt, you wanna hit us with yo's?
Yeah, I'm gonna go really quick. I got a few here. So
all right, thanks, Dalt. We're gonna move on now.
Hey, thanks, Brenner. So for my MVPs, I'm picking the Raiders again. Another awesome win for the Raiders. Just really shoving it to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs on Christmas. Really love that for them, keeping their playoff hopes alive. Big win for Antonio Pierce. I think he's really just kind of cemented himself as the number one front runner as far as coaches go. You can't
Agreed.
pick, even if Bill Belichick says I'll do it for $1. I would pick Antonio Pierce.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Bill Belichick will do it for $1. That's a tough one.
Also, another MVP. I got the Lions.
Fuck
First,
off. We're gonna get into this later.
Somebody
I just-
had to do it.
We're gonna get into this later.
I just want to say,
Continue.
it's their first division title since 1993.
It's their only NFC North title ever.
So that's a pretty big win for the
Last
Lions.
time they won it, it was the NFC Central, so they have never officially won the NFC North until yesterday.
And then my last quick MVP is just going to be the Patriots for beating the Broncos. Everybody kind of looked at me a little
That's
bit crazy.
the audience member. He's going
Everybody-
crazy out here. They're
everybody-
going crazy in the live studio audience.
Everybody being Brenner and Spoon just kind of looked at me a little bit crazy whenever I picked them for my pick 'em, and
told you you were
they
dumb.
did it. And then my L is gonna be Cowboys, man. That was a hard fought game, but that defense really did not show up. Dan Quinn is looking as fallible as ever. And it makes me very nervous going into. He's just not been able to adjust whenever offenses hit the Cowboys in the mouth. And then a
But when
quick,
he's on.
quick 2 side L's, games where I'm taking them as an L for me personally, but they both won. Packers, too close of a game against the Panthers. I had them pretty high in the beginning of the year, and that was just a
They were
bad
your
game for
surprise
them.
Super Bowl pick, correct?
Yes. And then Eagles really would have been my for sure L if they would have lost this game, but I'm picking them as like a side L because they really almost lost to the Giants.
Yeah.
And then my game of the week, there really isn't a lot going on. I don't want to pick the Cowboys Lions. Obviously, I'm gonna be
He's
watching
just
that
picked.
game.
Listen, there's only 2 games. Me and Riley already took the other one. Just take the game. Just take.
Fuck
Take
it.
it.
Okay, yeah. So Cowboys Lions. It's the Cowboys are still on their home win streak. They may have lost 2 games, but they were both on the road, so they still are holding on to that 15-game home win streak. I think that they can take it out. It's going to be probably their hardest home game I think that they've played this year. So that'll be a good game to watch. And then my pick'em, Chiefs. Chiefs.
You can't
What?
pick the Chiefs. Can't pick the Chiefs. They were leading their division. Whenever we did it, they were leading their division.
They're not
We
leading
let
their
you-
division now, are they?
No. It was when we started the pick 'em.
Oh,
It was
okay.
anybody leading their division at that time. That's why that list I sent you.
Gotcha.
I feel like I tell you about the list every week on the show.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot with that list going on. That I still don't quite understand it, but
You're good.
and-
You're good. Well, do you want some time to think about it? We'll come back to it a little later.
No, it's all good. I'm gonna pick the Packers.
Pick the Packers. Picking the Packers.
Yeah,
No
division
pack.
game.
No. No pack. No.
They are a little bit more put together than this Vikings team. It's just like you said.
Fuck off.
The ship has sailed for the Vikings, so I don't really see them pulling a win against these Packers, who just put up 33 points in their last game.
Fuck off. With that, we're gonna move on here. Thank you for sharing your ill-advised opinions on our show here. I hate you so much. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I love you, buddy. With that, we're gonna move on, and I just want to talk a quick recap on some MVP. We're not gonna spend a ton of time like we have in the past on the MVP conversation. Can we all agree that Lamar Jackson is the current favorite to win MVP after last night?
I would say he's the favorite, and it's a little crazy to me because he's not putting up the stats like a lot of other QBs are, but they are winning games.
Total
And I-
yardage wise, he's up there with anybody.
total yardage wise, but as far
Yeah,
as
when you have the
touchdowns,
rushing yards up there with the passing yards, like he is up there with
true.
all the quarterbacks when it comes to total yards. So
yeah, that's
I
very
mean, my
true.
opinion, I'm going to agree. I think now after Brock Purdy's 4 interception game, it has basically come down to a 2-man race, possibly a 3-man race. I think Purdy is now out of the MVP race. I think it's Lamar's the leading favorite right now. I think Dak still has a shot to do it, but it's going to be
He's gotta win out.
he's going to have to go. He's going to have to go off the last 2 games, and Lamar's going to have 2 mediocre games, like not terrible games, but just games where he doesn't really do much. And then I also have Tua. I think Tua might sneak himself back in, especially if he did just beat a very good Cowboys team in Miami. Yeah, and
a lot
if
of
he
implications
beats Ravens,
for this.
if Tua beats Lamar and then goes in and beats Josh Allen the final week of the season, I think Tua is gonna cement himself in as definitely one of those top candidates. Because right now he's on the outside, kind of looking in, but he very well could still be the MVP of the season. So
a lot of implications. A lot of implications for this Ravens Dolphins game.
I would, if that Ravens Dolphin game goes down crazy and Tua pops off for 5 touchdowns and Lamar doesn't really play well, and then Tua, that would give them a tie for the 1 seed, I believe, correct?
I think so.
And I don't know who wins that tiebreaker.
It would give them a. Yeah, if Miami wins that game, it'll go down to a tiebreaker, and it automatically goes to head-to-head. And since Miami would beat them head-to-head, then they would get the number 1 seed.
So Tua would have the 1 seed, be the 1 seed in the AFC. The road to the Super Bowl will go through Miami, and then if he beats Josh Allen the next week, then how do you not give it to Tua? So I think Lamar is the current favorite. If it ended today, he would win the MVP. I think Tua has the second best chance to win the MVP, and then I would say Dak or Christian McCaffrey after those 2. You got any?
I do have a question. If the Bills take the
No.
He snatched the mic out.
Okay, we're gonna let him talk. We're gonna let him talk. If
Finish
you
this
want, we'll post something up here. We probably won't actually, but we're gonna pretend that we're gonna post something right here. Skip to this timestamp if you would like to skip Riley.
I am just putting it out there. The guy has 17 more touchdowns than Lamar. And if he comes back and wins that division, he at least has to be in the conversation for the final week. Am I wrong? I think he's leading the league in touchdowns,
and the Bills record take him out.
Maybe total yards.
The Bills don't
Is
have a
Brett
good
Favre
enough
the greatest
record.
NFL quarterback of all time? Is Peyton Manning the greatest quarterback of all time? No, he's not. Total touchdowns aren't as important as impact to the team.
He has 83% of the Bills' touchdowns.
Yeah, Lamar probably has something. I can't.
I saw the stat this morning. Lamar has 53%
How many turnovers does he have,
his
though?
team's
How many-
touchdowns.
How many?
Josh
what
Allen has
percentage
80.
of turnovers does Josh Allen have? 90.
Lamar has 13 total. I believe Josh Allen has 18 total, and Josh, like I said, had 17 more touchdowns than Lamar.
Okay.
I mean, if we're going off of touchdowns and interceptions, there's still only one quarterback in the whole NFL that has 30 or more passing touchdowns, and that's still Dak Prescott.
Yeah,
that's why I still have him in my top 3. I haven't taken him out, and there's only one quarterback in the whole NFL that has less interceptions than Dak, and that's C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
So he's throwing the ball for more passing touchdowns, and he's also not turning the ball over as much throwing it. So that's why I still have to keep him in there. I know I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm not trying to be biased. It's tough to take him out of the top 3 right now with Tua and Lamar, but I definitely think after all the conversation and after last week, Brock Purdy is out for me personally.
for sure.
So,
Yeah, I think Brock's out. Brock was the favorite for 2 weeks. I think he's played himself out with a 4 interception, 0 touchdown, 250-yard game. I'm going to say it again. Lamar is my current favorite, followed by Tua with Dak being third. Josh Allen, if he wins out and they end up, winning their division, we can talk about it. We can talk about it. Okay, we can talk about it.
Just trying to get him his respect.
But right now, he's borderline top 5. Borderline top 5. Christian McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill both deserve talk just as much as he does.
Ooh. I would have to look into their stats to see it, but I don't know. I think at minimum he would be at 4. My only argument against the Dak Prescott argument is that they now have 1 win against a winning team. Like, he has put up great stats, but he's put them up against bad teams. He also did have you said he had how many interceptions? 7? Three of those came in one game, like week 3-ish. So I mean, he has been playing very well, and I'm not trying to take. I would just like him to see him have done it against more winning teams throughout the season.
Spoon.
I'm just going to go off of that, and I was also going to kind of bring up Dalton's big L of the week was the Dallas Cowboys. So based on, I mean, yes, we went into Miami, we lost, very good Miami team. But I'm not going to put that. I'm not going to pin that loss on Dak. Dak scored, because Dak scored the go-ahead touchdown with three something left in the game. That put him ahead. It's just if our defense makes stops, then we probably win the game. I think our defense is what costs. I think Dak has been putting us, like, especially in the last few weeks, he's been the one that has been putting us in the prime spot to win all these games. It's just our defense has been letting us up big time, and then we have to play from behind, and it's tough to play from behind, especially if you're not the home team.
To build on that L, big fumble on the goal line. Tony Pollard not being able to find the goal line. You know what I mean? Like, those are 2 plays.
Remember last week when you said you guys weren't missing Zeke?
Yeah.
Remember that? Remember that?
Remember last week when you still had playoff hopes, Brenner?
So I want to throw this out to the Cowboys fans. Like, obviously, the defense has not been great against the run this year.
Nope.
And it was not great against
out
the
Jonathan
run
Hankins, out Leighton Vander Esch, two of the biggest guys as far as run stopping.
Do you think getting them back instantly changes that defense? Because it was a problem last year too. I think it was.
Yeah, but Leighton was also injured a lot too, and Jonathan Hankins didn't start quite as much as he did. He didn't start as much last year, but it's definitely. I think it's very heavily on Leighton Vander Esch. He is a huge key as far as run stopping. Now, I do think that Micah would be a very good substitute to put him at linebacker, but they are just. I think it would be good because a lot of these defenses have kind of figured him out and are just running right at him, and all of the missed holding calls. I mean, nobody ever talks about the refs. Obviously, Stephen A., Pat McAfee, none of those guys are going to talk about refs and everything. But I mean, that dude's getting held like crazy, and it's not being called.
But I want to say it was around mid-season of last year. Chicago went to Dallas, and Dallas's defense was on a roll up until that point. And then for 3.5 quarters, the Bears put up like 35 on them, rushed for 250. And I feel like ever since the Bears did it, teams, when they can, they run the ball on the Cowboys defense. But and obviously Dalton gave his opinion, and I'll hand the mic to Spoon, but what is the key to getting this run defense figured out?
Dalton, you want to go first?
Well, I was going to say up until the Bills game, we hadn't allowed a 100-yard rusher or a 100-yard receiver. The defense was doing pretty well, but there are holes in it, and I think injuries just really go a long way when you throw gears and you dishevel defenses and you put a new guy in where another guy was, and it's like, well, he's not that guy, and it just kind of tilts the tower a little bit.
Chemistry matters a lot.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, and I think the injury on Diggs definitely hurt a little bit of chemistry there. I mean, obviously Bland has stepped up big time. Bland has stepped up big time. I think when it comes to our run defense, though, I think it's just adjusting. And I don't think Dan Quinn has been doing a great job the last couple of weeks of doing that. Like, obviously, like you have to do something at halftime. If you're getting the ball ran all over you in the first half, like there's something you have to do. Now, granted, like this past week, I was going to say, like, Miami only scored 1 touchdown on our defense. All the other points came from field goals. So we're doing a good job of stopping them, but we're not stopping them early in the drives. Yeah. They're getting to the red zone, and we're stopping them in the red zone, but we got to get them.
Yeah,
we
they
got to
did
be able
score
to stop them before they reach the red zone.
5
Period.
field goals.
They're it's the bend but don't break defense. The Dom Capers bend but don't break from back in the day. That's kind of where Dallas has been at. Would you guys agree with that?
Yep.
Cool. Well, we're gonna take a second. I have something I would like to talk about in this show, and I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this one. Okay, Nick Mullins went out and threw for 411 yards and 4 interceptions in a just big yardage, atrociously, fuck it, he's down there somewhere game. And the Detroit Lions beat the Minnesota Vikings without their quarterback 1, their wide receiver 2, their tight end 1, their defensive end number 2, and their cornerback 1 by 6 points. This Detroit Lions team is fraudulent. They are fraudulent. They will be a first-round exit. Congrats on winning the division for the first time ever. That is, respect is earned, and you have earned it. Congrats, Detroit. You're fraudulent. End of story. Would either of you like to debate this? Would either of you like to say anything? No? Okay, that's my TED Talk. Dalton, would you like to say anything?
I kind of agree with you. They've seemed shaky really all season.
They got shit on by Baltimore. They got shit on by Seattle at home.
Yeah.
Watch us saying all this shit on Detroit. They go in there and beat Dallas.
Ugh.
You know what? Did I use them already?
What are you using?
Hold on. We have.
You're about to use Dallas.
I already used them. Fuck. I was about to change my pick on this week to Dallas, but I already used them.
I mean, I'm just saying, with the amount of passing yards that the Lions have been able to give up all season, I do think that back to my MVP talk with Dak. I think this is a great week for him to just show up, throw for 300 plus yards, and I think he is going to do that. Yeah, I think the Lions are definitely fraudulent. They're going to host a playoff game, sadly. We're going to see him do that, and it's possible that they do lose that playoff game.
They're going to host a playoff game, and it's going to be against the LA Rams and Matthew Stafford, and he is going to walk in to Ford Field, and he is going to put an ass whooping on the Detroit Lions like nobody has ever seen. And I'm going to be all here for
Coming
it.
to you live, the WWE Wide Eye Sports Podcast.
This
Sunday, brother.
Matthew Stafford's going to bring Calvin Johnson out of retirement for that game.
That's my.
I just want to point in real quick. You couldn't ask for a better story than that. Honestly, it's going to be a great game. Everybody, it's going to be it's must see TV right there. Everyone's going to keep an eye on that.
They played since he left.
No, I don't think they.
No.
This
would be their first meeting.
Yeah, this would be their first meeting. I am praying to God that happens because I want to see Detroit get their fucking heart ripped out by their favorite quarterback. I mean, when LA went to the Super Bowl a few years ago, there were Lions fans everywhere celebrating Matthew Stafford. Oh, so happy for him. Da, 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 da. I want nothing more than for their best season in most of their fans' lifetimes to be ripped out for a guy they grew up loving. Oh, it would be so fitting for Detroit.
I just want to point out real quick too. I know we quit talking about the MVP race, but as of right now, do y'all know who's leading the race? Best odds to win it? No.
What?
Jalen Hurts right now has the best betting odds to win. Yeah, I just saw that it just popped up on my computer. It's definitely surprising. None of us have Jalen Hurts up there. I don't even have him in my top 3, but hey man, that's the betting odds right now. That's what they have.
They won't last.
So I don't see him winning. I just wanted to point that out. But
no, good catch. I love that. I love that we have a little diversity on the show, and it's not just me standing here talking to a microphone for 30 minutes to an hour. Listen, why you got to make it about race? He said diversity with 4 white dudes, and I'm like, why you got to make it about race? I'm Jewish. We got a Jew on the show. We have a minority here. We got minorities on our show. Okay. All right. So with that, we're going to move on to the top 10. And this week, as you can see, I'm not at home. I don't have my setup. It's been a lot with the holidays. I don't have a graphic for everybody, and I apologize. There will be a graphic for the Instagram tomorrow. You can check it out there. But I do have the order in which the top 10 is going to go this week. So with that, I'm going to pull it up here.
Did we fuck over the Browns again?
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie, I forgot to put them on.
Yeah. Riley didn't even put him on the fucking list. I was like, no fucking Browns.
No, so I was sitting there doing the list, and I was like, well, the Browns aren't better than these teams. And then I just started going to like I was like, I'll put them further down the list, and just forgot to put them on the list.
I had him at 6.
Pulling up. So it's pulling up right here. While we wait for that to load, I would just like to give a shout out to a team that we don't really talk all that much about, and they got their asses kicked this weekend. But Indianapolis has been playing really well this week. We were talking about them a little bit before the show. They have a real shot to make a playoff push. I think they're currently in the 7th seed in the AFC, and I just want to give a little shout out to Indy. They've been balling their hearts out. You know, it didn't matter what running back they put in. It doesn't matter what quarterback they put in. They lose Michael Pittman for a game. Fuck it. We're going to win. Fucking love the fucking...
Yeah, I love it too. They have the Raiders and the Texans left on their schedule. 2 possible winnable, like definitely winnable games. Both of them are at home now, so they get to stay home for their last 2 games of the season. I mean, they could, if they win both games, I don't see them moving out of the playoff spot at all. I know that didn't somebody pick the Colts as their pick 'em this week? Yeah, I was looking at that game. It's just tough to go with the Colts because the Raiders have been playing so well for the last few weeks since they got rid of their head coach. So that's why I stayed away from that game. But them at home, like, definitely a good pick.
So we're going to move on to our weekly top 10. Every week, all the guys do a top 10. I tally up the points. 1 is worth 10 points. 10 is worth 1 point, and everything in between. So we go off of this scale each and every week. We compile the data, and we get ourselves a weekly top 10 for the Wide Eye Sports Podcast. And this week, on the border, sitting just outside the top 10, receiving a couple votes, are the Seattle Seahawks and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I tend to think the Bucs should make this list, but, you know, there's some good teams here in front of them. So we're off with number 10, the LA Rams. The LA Rams have been balling, and like I said, they're going to play Detroit, and they're going to beat the shit out of the Lions. At number 9, we have the struggle bus that is the Kansas City Chiefs. Fire Matt Nagy, Riley says.
Get him out of here.
Get him out. So at 8, we have the Buffalo Bills, who are hot right now. Hot, hot, hot. Then we have the disrespected Cleveland Browns at number 7. This is ridiculous that they don't even make some people's list. They are in play for the 1 seed with 2 weeks to go in the AFC. The road to the Super Bowl in the AFC could go through Cleveland. It could have to go through Cleveland. Lamar Jackson could have to go into Cleveland to win the AFC Championship game.
Are they the only team in the league right now that has the opportunity to have the 1 seed and also finish last in their division?
They can't finish last, but they could miss the playoffs still. Oh, okay. So they can't finish last. No, nobody. But it's because of their division. Their division is so tough.
Every team in that division is above 500 right now. So.
Every team is above 500. That's crazy. So at number 6, I think accurately placed, we have the Lions behind the number 5 seeded Cowboys, the number 4 seeded Eagles. And then I was really shocked here. I was the only one who had this the opposite. We have the Dolphins at 3, and we have the 49ers at 2. I was shocked. The Niners lost, and the Eagles just beat another top 5, or the Dolphins beat a top 5 team.
Yeah, but okay, so like for my top 10, I'm not going to move the 49ers because they lost to the number 1 team. They lost to the team that I expected them to lose to, so they're not going to drop that much. And the Dolphins, like it was the same with the Dolphins and the Cowboys. The Dolphins won, which I had them ranked ahead of the Cowboys, so I'm not going to move the Cowboys far down, and I'm not going to move the Dolphins far up. They did exactly what I predicted them to do, so that's why there's not going to be much movement there for me, personally.
I agree.
Yeah, and kind of rolling off what Spoon said, like the Niners have blown out some of the teams on this list. I mean, the Miami squeaked by a win past the Dallas, and that's their second team with a winning record that they beat. Their first team. Yeah, so I mean, it's hard for me to put the Niners below when they've been blowing out good teams for a majority of the season.
I mean, I'm just saying, what have you done for me lately? Lately, you've lost and the Dolphins have won. I thought it was worth a 1-spot jump. That's
They
just
just
me.
won 6 in a row.
Yeah,
49ers were on a 6-game winning streak
And then they lost. Why the
to
Dolphins
the
won.
Ravens.
The Dolphins beat the Cowboys.
You told me it was that your Super Bowl pick was Ravens 49ers.
Yes.
Still?
Oh, still. Oh, I thought you asked me, was it Ravens 49ers?
No, yeah, it was. And I'm asking you now, is it still?
I think so, yeah. I think it's still Ravens Niners.
That's
I
1
don't
and 2, baby.
I don't see it. I mean, the Niners had a terrible game. I think if these two meet again, it will not go down the same way, but we'll get more into that later. I got some questions on that. Riley, you got some?
With the way the seeding works, would it be likely that the Cowboys see the Eagles in the conference?
Yeah, it'll probably be the divisional, like the wild card round. It's probably going to be Cowboys, Bucks, or whoever wins the NFC South, more than likely.
It would be, my thinking was it'd be a lot more beneficial for the Niners if the Cowboys and Eagles played each other rather than the Niners having to play either, but both of them, have them eliminate each other and only have to play one of them.
Yeah, no, it would absolutely be more beneficial, but I doubt that's the way it pops out down the line. So they're
The winner of that game is probably going to beat them. Yeah.
probably end up playing the Lions or the Rams, you said?
Yeah. If the Rams beat the Lions, and the Rams are going to play the Niners, but if the Cowboys, if all the seedings work out and like the Cowboys do upset the number 4 seed, which I see them doing in the NFC South, then it'll be Cowboys Niners before, and then the Eagles will probably have an easy slate all the way to the NFC Championship game where they'll probably play the 49ers. I don't think the Cowboys beat the Niners in the playoffs, especially the way they've been playing right now.
Well, you heard it here first. That's kind of that pretty much went over the NFC playoff picture, actually. That was our next segment, was the NFC playoff picture.
Let's shoot over to the AFC playoff.
AFC playoff picture. So we're going to take a look here at the AFC playoff picture. And this week, I don't have a screen up in front of me. Oh, Spoon's going to let me use his screen. So right now we have Baltimore, who can lock up the 1 seed with a win against Miami this week, whereas Miami with a win would get the tiebreaker and be the 1 seed. Now they would have to win their final week of the season, as would Baltimore, for that, to hold on. So the 1 seed is still very much up in the air. Kansas City still has a shot at the 1 seed. Baltimore would have to lose out. Miami would have to beat Baltimore and then lose, and Cleveland would have to win out, and then Cleveland would get the 1 seed, which isn't impossible. It's not super likely that Baltimore loses out. That's not, their last game of the season is an easy one. I can't remember who it's against. Do you have who they play the last week of the season? Cleveland.
They play Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, the last week of the season. Or, sorry, Baltimore. I said Cleveland. I'm an idiot. Yeah. I meant, who does Baltimore play the last week of the season?
I would assume it's Cincinnati.
Yeah, it is Cincinnati. So Cincinnati. So they have to lose to Cincinnati, and they would have to lose to the Dolphins. So it's not super likely. But the AFC playoff picture is still pretty wide open.
Well, no, I was actually looking ahead on my screen over here. I'm looking at the AFC South with Jacksonville, Houston, and the Colts. So I know that Jacksonville right now is on a 4-game losing streak, but they still hold the tiebreaker over the Colts and the Texans based on win percentage. I don't know. It's too in depth, but they're all sitting at 8-7 right now. But I'm just looking at who Jacksonville, who they got the last 2 weeks. They have Carolina next week at home. I see that as an easy win for Jacksonville. And then they play at Tennessee. Shouldn't be that tough. Tennessee's I don't know. It is a division game, and it's in Tennessee. It's kind of it's one of those games. I mean, Tennessee beat Miami. So it's one of those, it's a weird, they play good some games, and then, they some weeks they play good, some weeks they don't. But I could definitely see Jacksonville easily winning out, taking the division, which goes against what you said. You had Houston winning the division. I mean, I think that Colts-Texans game at the end of the season is definitely going to be, it's probably going to be a fight for the wild card rather than a fight for the division, in my opinion.
So I have not been keeping up with the Jags all that much. They're on a 5-game losing streak, 4-game losing streak. Where are we at with Trevor Lawrence? Are we saying he needs to be playing better, or is it the team that is letting Trevor Lawrence down?
He is definitely not playing to the level of an NBA or an NFL, superstar caliber player, but he's doing okay. He has very high peaks and very low lows. He's, he averages out somewhere in like the C- range, but he's shown A+ games, but he's also had very bad F games, and he's had D games, and then he'll have an A game, and then he'll have an F game, and a C game, and a D game, and a C game, then an A game. So it's just, he's a wild roller coaster, and I think it tracks with his career so far. I mean, his rookie season, he had all those interceptions and played terribly, and I think he's on track to be a good player. I do not think he's there yet, and I think he needs to pick it up to truly take this team to the next level.
I think for me, what boils down to it with Trevor Lawrence is he is an excellent just passer in general. He gets the yardage every single week. It's just he needs to minimize his mistakes right now. For instance, last week against the Bucks, he threw for 2 interceptions. 3 weeks ago against Cleveland, he threw, I believe, for 3 interceptions. I think if he just learns to, just be more confident in his throwing, make better decisions, I still believe that he could. I mean, he's a playoff quarterback as of right now, in my opinion. And I think that if he just learns how to control the ball a little better and not turn it over, I still think that he has the potential to be a top quarterback in the NFL.
I would agree with that. Dalt, do you have any disagreements there or grievances you'd like to air?
Looking like a bust.
Ooh, the live studio audience is going crazy again.
He came out in the same year that Fields did, didn't he? So his contract's up. Like, they either need to pick up his 5th year. But if he came out with Fields, this is Fields' 4th year.
Fields came out with Mahomes.
No, Trubisky came out with Mahomes. I could have swore he came out with Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, so his contract's up. Hey, like, the Jags could have some decisions to make.
We're bringing down the studio audience member again.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence is a bust. The 2021 QB class is a wash. No players came out of it. I'd also like to add that yesterday Patrick Mahomes had only 33 air yards, who's an actual yards after the catch merchant.
There you have it, folks. The public has spoken. The live studio audience is loving it. We love to hear from everybody in the live studio audience. Thank you guys so much for all coming out. We really appreciate all of you. And, hopefully next week, we'll have more of you. But so anybody got anything else to add they want to add to the playoff picture?
No, just real quick, back to Trevor Lawrence. One last thing. Whenever he played the Ravens 2 weeks ago, he had a better quarterback rating than Lamar Jackson. So I don't think it's him. I think that defense definitely needs some help. Because, I mean, he didn't throw for an interception. He played a game where he didn't make mistakes, and they still lost by a lot. So I think that it's not really Trevor Lawrence and the Jags. I think it's the defense and the Jags that need the help right now.
As you can see, lots of varying opinions upon the show that we have for you today. With that, we're going to switch on over to a segment we haven't had in a few weeks, and that is rapid fire questions. This is going to be the second to last segment on the show today. I'm going to ask everybody some questions. I just want some quick, easy answers. Nothing in depth, nothing crazy. Just yes or no. Maybe give a few words on why. So with that, I'm going to ask, you can't pick your home team. You cannot pick your team. Okay, so no Bears, no Cowboys. Who has the best home field advantage in the NFL?
Man, I'm going to go Seahawks.
I think the Bills.
Dalt?
I want to say Chiefs.
Chiefs. Ooh, a lot of good answers. Lots of good answers there. That one was good.
Chiefs just lost at home to the Raiders.
Ooh.
Damn, yeah. I don't know.
All right. So next question. This one's for Spoon.
It's kind of unfair that we can't say the Cowboys since they're on a 15.
Hey,
at
Hey,
home
that's
winning streak.
fine. I don't care if it's unfair. Life's unfair. Get a helmet.
I don't abide by your rules. I picked the Cowboys.
So next up, Spoon. This offseason, you can pick any team you think will fire their head coach. What is the best head coaching opportunity come this offseason?
Ooh. I mean, I don't. This is definitely a tough question. I don't know. I feel like we kind of went over this like before, and I'm pretty sure I went with Arizona. And I think that's the best bet. I think building off of Kyler Murray, I think you could go like there's so many routes you could go. Get him a couple of offensive weapons too, because that's the problem right now. He doesn't have any offensive weapons. The Bears also, like, that's obviously good, but I think that Bears offense does have several weapons there. Yeah, they have DJ
Bears.
Moore, like they and Justin Fields being able to scramble, like that's tremendous help. But it's probably between one of those two. Without it, I mean the Raiders obviously, like they look damn good right now with a different coach, and so.
Don't discount the Patriots either. Don't forget about them. It's not a terrible defense out there in New England. They got a good defense. They got a good defense. All right. So one word answers. Better team, Seattle or Indy?
Man. Seattle.
Seattle.
I'd probably have to go Indy. I'm gonna.
Just to go off that, I did have a question that I was kind of wanting to ask. I want to know which conference has the better wild card spot teams right now. So it's Cleveland Browns, Buffalo Bills, Indianapolis Colts, and it's the Cowboys, the Rams, and the Seahawks. Kind of going off of what you said, but I wanted to ask that personally. I was like, which division or which conference? Sorry.
I'm going AFC.
I'm gonna go AFC because I think the only powerhouse in the NFC would be the Cowboys. I think the Bills and the who'd you say, the Browns? I think they could both win a game. I could very easily see in the Rams and the Rams and the Seahawks. I could see them both being out in the first round.
The Seahawks did beat the Browns earlier this season in Seattle, but like we talked about earlier, that home field advantage is pretty crazy. I would say right now, if they played next week, Cleveland would beat all three of those teams.
Okay. Dalton, I want you to answer yours real quick. Would you pick the NFC wild card or the AFC wild card?
You said Bills, Browns, or the Rams?
No, it's Bills, Browns, Colts, and then it's Cowboys, Rams, Seahawks. Which conference has the better wild card teams?
Yeah, it's got to be AFC, man. I think AFC just like all together looks a lot better. Seahawks don't really look so crazy to me.
Yeah, I would. Oh, Dalton's computer. Oh.
I just want to touch up on it. I didn't give mine because I kind of assumed that you all were going to pick the AFC because I'm actually teetering to the NFC. I think any given day, Rams, Seahawks, Cowboys, any of them could beat anyone. I do think that it's more top heavy in the Browns and the Bills. It's the Colts that kind of pushes me down to where I put the NFC just a little bit above the AFC.
That's fair. That is absolutely fair. Any given Sunday. With that, I'm going to move on to my next question. Who is the best defender in the NFL this year? Can be any defensive player. Riley.
Man, I'm going to go TJ Watt.
Spoon.
Probably Myles Garrett.
Dalt, you got one?
11 from heaven, Michael Parsons.
I was shocked that was going to happen. All right. Here's one. Who wins the NFC least? Philadelphia or Dallas?
Philadelphia.
Philly.
Ouch.
That wasn't That wasn't a real question. Brenner just wanted to rub it into the Cowboys.
No, that was a real question. I have it written down.
Uh-huh.
Next question, bouncing off that, is who wins the NFC South?
Tampa.
You said who?
NFC South.
The Bucks.
Yeah. Yeah, Bucks easily. I mean, I don't-
Bucks. Bucks.
yeah, yeah. I don't think the Falcons really have a chance. I think the Saints might have a chance, but
It's Tampa Bay Saints this week. It's going to come down to this week, I'm thinking.
Bucks on a 4-game win streak. They're going to keep it alive.
Baker going hard. Baker going hard in the paint. All right. So, last question here before we move on to our final segment of the day. If San Francisco and Baltimore are to meet in the Super Bowl, who do you think wins? And the second part of the question is, if your Super Bowl matchup is not San Francisco-Baltimore, what is your current Super Bowl matchup?
I'm gonna go Baltimore Niners, and I think the Niners would win if they played again.
I think it's safe to say it's the same. I don't see the Cowboys or the Eagles going into San Francisco and beating the Niners, but it's very tough to beat a team twice. Now, granted, the Ravens did go into San Francisco and beat the Niners, but I think it's going to flip-flop. I think the Niners step up and they win the Super Bowl against the Ravens this year.
Dalt?
yeah, I'm gonna go. If it's Baltimore Niners, I think Baltimore has it in them to win again. I really do. That defense is
saying
not.
for months.
Yeah, that defense is
Baltimore's
not
in.
playing. But
Baltimore
personally, I
wins.
think it's going to be Ravens Cowboys.
Ravens Cowboys from Dalton. Who wins that?
Cowboys.
Ooh, ballsy take. All right. So our final segment of the show before we get off here today, we're gonna do a little college football speculation here. We got the national championship playoff games coming up next week, and they will play the day before we record, and then it'll air on the following day. So here we go.
All right, so I know that we don't really touch up on college football that much, but obviously playoffs are here. I just want to know who each person is picking to win each game. So I'm going to start out with Bama and Michigan. So you got Jalen Milroe, JJ McCarthy, two very good teams. I see this game being a low-scoring game personally. I think the defenses are what's going to decide this game. I do think Michigan has a better defense. Jalen Milroe did show vulnerable. He was vulnerable. That's what I was trying to say. Vulnerability against the Auburn whenever he played them. A 6-6 team that's not very, very good. He got a lucky 30, 40-yard touchdown pass to end the game. They should have lost that game. So that's why I think Michigan wins this one. And I'm just going to see what everybody else says.
I'm gonna go Michigan, Texas. Those are Michigan wins, Texas wins, Michigan, Texas national championship game.
I'm gonna go with Bama, just so John Harbaugh gets pissed off and comes to the Bears. But he either needs to win it or he needs to lose in the first round. I think if he gets to it and loses, he comes back. But if he wins it, I could see him win. Like, okay, I've conquered college football. It's time to go back to the NFL. And if he's out in the first round, he's like, okay, I got screwed over by the NCAA. I'm leaving. Like, so long as he ends up on the Bears, I don't care.
All right, Dalton, what's your pick for Bama versus Michigan?
Michigan.
Michigan? Okay. So the next game, obviously, we have my team, the Texas Longhorns, going against Washington. You got Quinn Ewers against Michael Penix Jr., probably one of the best quarterbacks prospects coming out. So on this one, it's good. It's tough to bet against Texas. I'm going to say Texas, obviously, but I think this is going to be a lot more of a fun game to watch. It's going to be high scoring, a lot of passing yards going down. It's basically going to come down to whoever has the ball last for me. I think that will be Texas, and I think they do move on to the Natty. Brenner, you already said you got Texas winning it, so.
Yeah, I got Texas winning it. I think that Michael Penix Jr. is overrated. I think this Washington football team is overrated. They almost got beat by Wazoo at home. Go Wazoo. They can score with anybody, but they can't stop anybody is the problem. And when they face a truly good defense that they're going to have trouble scoring against.
I was going to say, I've watched a lot of Texas football, and our problem is the secondary. So I see Michael Penix passing all over. It's the trenches. Washington's not going to be able to pass or run the ball against us at all. I'm going to tell you that right now. Not one bit, but they are going to be able to pass against us, and that's what scares me, especially looking at this Washington team. So
They'll lose 24-35.
I'm gonna go with that big Penix energy because I have not watched. I have watched one single college football game all year, and it was the Apple Bowl with Washington, the Apple Cup with Washington and Wazoo. And just because that's the only game I've watched, and I haven't even seen Texas step on a football field, I'm gonna go with Penix.
Dalton, who you got?
Yeah, I got to pick Texas.
He's got to Texas.
Yeah.
All right, so last one then. We'll just make it quick. Who you have winning it all? Can't go with Texas. I'm going to jinx them if I pick it, so I'm going to take Michigan and just pray that Texas meets them there.
I'm gonna go. That's a hard one for me. I just have such.
John Harbaugh wins and he stays at Michigan.
I kind of gotta agree with Spoon. I think Michigan's gonna pay John Harbaugh a shit ton of money to stay, and so doesn't matter if he wins or loses. I think Michigan wins the Natty. Harbaugh's pissed that they made him sit outside the stadium for the final 4 weeks of the season. So he's gonna come in ready to fucking coach his life away. He's gonna go fucking hard. He's gonna win a national title. He's gonna come back to Michigan and show, listen, I'm fucking here to stay. NCAA, suck my dick.
I'm gonna stick with Washington only because big Penix energy. But what does this do for the offseason as far as does it put Penix's name as like one of the top quarterbacks coming out of the draft? I mean, it is going to get people talking about him.
Michael Penix will go in the late first, early second round. All right. He will be a top echelon pick in the draft. He could win the national championship. It would elevate him to a top, I don't think he makes it in the top 10. I just don't see a world where he gets drafted in the top 10.
But even if he does pull that off, like he is going to gain millions from it just in his draft position. Even if it is 10 spots higher at 20, like it is going to make him a lot of more money in the long run.
It's his injury problem. That's the only thing, and that's what NFL prospects are going to look at. They're going to look at the fact that like, oh hey, like how often was he healthy in college? And that's the thing. He just like this is his second season in a row where he was fully healthy. The seasons before, like it didn't happen. So that's what they're going to look at, and that's why I think that he's still going to be a late first round, early second round pick. Dalton, real quick, who's your national championship winner?
I want Texas to win it all because fuck. What's his name? Dave
Fuck
Portnoy.
the Huskies. That's what you meant to say.
Dave Portnoy is betting $1 million on Michigan.
Damn. Last thing I'm going to say about this, I watched a lot of UW football this year. I live in Seattle, the UW. I work in the University of Washington. I work at the base of their headquarter building. I have a lot. I'm right there with it the whole way through the season. And I'm going to tell you right now, Michael Penix has got that dog in him. He wants it. He wants to go get it. I do not think he has what it takes to be an NFL quarterback physically. His body will fall apart before he can do it. He has the brain. He has the mentality. He doesn't have the body.
Is that not some of the same stuff that was said about Tua when he came out? I understand he's had a couple of concussions, but since then, like he's done great this year, and nothing outside of the concussions, like he's never had a leg broken in half or anything like that I can remember. Yeah,
But Penix has, and that's where the injury concerns come in. I'm just gonna say the Tua fell into the perfect position with Mike motherfucking McDaniels, the coach of the year, in my opinion. Dan Campbell's bum ass will probably get it. Mike Tice wannabe bitch. But I'm gonna say Mike McDaniels is the best coach of the NFL right now.
I also think Tua fell into a perfect spot. He probably has the best wide receiver duo in the NFL right now. So it's tough to sit there and be like, oh, he's going to struggle at all. No, you could put just about any quarterback there with those two. They're good. Yeah. And their run game is tremendous too. 2 top tier running backs.
Well, top tier scheming
Raheem
for the
Mostert,
run. Mostert's
31 years
31
old.
years old, leading the NFL in rushing touchdowns. The dude's rejuvenated in this offensive scheme. It's speed. That offensive scheme is speed and like straight lines of speed. They're just on the table, going hard. They're wired, ready to go all day. Let's fucking go. Ooh.
Lightning
So-
McQueen, baby.
That's gonna be it for me. Dalt, you got anything to add?
Nope.
Riley, you got anything to add?
Not right now.
Spoon?
Hook 'em horns. I hope we do win the Natty.
No pack, no, and we'll see you next week, everybody. We love you. Thank you. Have a great one. We'll see you after this week, and have a great weekend.